What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Panther Tales with your host, Wissam. Today, we are on our second installment of the Meet the Opponents series, where I'll break down every team on the Carolina Panthers schedule for the 2026-2027 season. Last week, for week one, we talked about the Chicago Bears. So if you missed it, it's on the page. You could check that out anytime. This week, we are going to the NFC South for week two, where we will be playing the Atlanta Falcons. Not only will we be playing them in week two, we will end the season against them in week 18. Holy moly. They just scored in the 89th minute. That was awesome. The World Cup is awesome. Shit. Okay, cool. But yeah, the Panthers will play Atlanta twice this season. Before we begin, I want to just give a huge shout out to Jalen Coker. He just signed a 3-year, $35 million contract with the Carolina Panthers. Can get up to $41 million. So happy that we got him locked down for another 3 years. He's going to be a key part of our receiving core as we continue to grow. But I just want to start off by saying that. Glad to have you here. Coke heads, rise up, baby. The Falcons are coming off an 8-9 season, and a lot has changed in that organization. They got a new GM. They got a new president of operations. They got a new head coach. And so we will break that all down today. Before we even get started, where do you guys think Atlanta will finish in the NFC South this year? Would love to hear from both Falcons and Carolina fans. So we got a little bit of history between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, the Falcons currently hold the all-time series at 37-25. I feel like that might be a trend as I continue doing research on these teams. I hope eventually we will have the upper hand on the series against anyone we're playing. But regardless, we are only going to get better from here on out, start beating teams' asses, and we'll start climbing those charts for the all-time series against everyone. Carolina's 15-16 at home, and they're 10-22 on the road. And a fun fact is, when Carolina joined the NFL in 1995, the NFC South didn't exist. We were actually in the NFC West, along with the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, I believe the Rams, and the 49ers. That's when the Rams were in St. Louis and the 49ers still in San Fran. So horrible mapping. But in 2002, everything realigned and the NFC South was born. There has been a lot of history between us and the Falcons over the years as well. From us clinching back-to-back NFC South titles for the first time in history, to the Matt Ryan get the fuck off our field game. Atlanta being the ones that ended our perfect season streak in 2015. Just a lot of history between the two teams. A total of 66 players have appeared for both organizations. However, there's never been a big name to jump ship from the Panthers to the Falcons or from the Falcons to the Panthers. The bigger name players are Eugene Robinson, Deion Jones, Mike Davis, Chris Draft. So kind of role players. Eugene Robinson's the biggest name out of the bunch. Maybe Chris Draft too, but no real big names have jumped ship. Question for all y'all. What is your favorite Panther Falcon game of all time? Now to begin, we really shouldn't look much further in this matchup other than Bryce Young versus Atlanta. I don't know what Atlanta did to Bryce as soon as he came out of college, but ever since Bryce has played Atlanta, that is easily his best matchup, specifically when we play in Atlanta. Once again, I don't know if he has an ex-girlfriend who lives there. I don't know if somebody on their team absolutely trashed him, but he looks his most comfortable when he plays Atlanta. Last season, he set the Panthers franchise single-game passing record against the Falcons with 448 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's more passing yards than Cam Newton's ever had, Jake Delhomme's ever had, Steve Berline, Kerry Collins, you name it. Bryce Young is at the top of that list now. Every time Bryce plays Atlanta, he looks confident, he looks poised, and as long as he's healthy, I like our chances of beating the Falcons again this year. I mean, it's gotten to the point where even in the Panther subreddit, every week when we're versing another team, we switch that other team to the Falcons colors. Being like, look, Bryce, we're playing the Atlanta Browns, you know? Some shit like that. There's just something about it. There's no denying it. I don't know if it's once again because that's the very first team that Bryce played. I don't know, but it's great. It makes me feel good every time we're about to play Atlanta. Once again, if Bryce is healthy. So, do you guys trust Bryce Young against Atlanta more than any other team? So far, it seems like either Atlanta or LA, the Rams. He has his best games against those two teams. Let's break down the 2025 Atlanta Falcons season. They came into the season, in my opinion, with one of the strongest rosters in the NFC South. But despite that, just like every other year, they have a strong roster and they fail on their opportunities. The Atlanta Falcons are one of the strangest teams. This is the kind of team that will beat the Bills and then lose to the Jets. Make it make sense. Doesn't to me. However, they finished 8-9 last year. Same record as us. Our fate was actually in the Atlanta Falcons' hands in week 18. So in week 18, the Carolina Panthers had a chance to clinch their playoff berth by just beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We failed to do that. So on that Sunday after our Saturday game, I for sure was tuning in, cheering hard as hell for the Falcons. And luckily they pulled it out. Since Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Carolina all ended at 8-9, they based who would go to the playoffs based off who won more divisional games. And since we split with Tampa Bay, but swept the Falcons, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not sweep the Falcons, and vice versa for the Falcons not sweeping the Buccaneers, hey, the Carolina Panthers made it in the playoffs last year. So thank you for that. It was awesome. The game was awesome too. I went to it, the Rams game. Yeah, we didn't win, but it was so electric and such a fun game to still be at. So with that, thank you, Falcons. I know it's weird to say it, but how hard were you Panther fans rooting for Atlanta last year, week 18? You can be honest here. Because I did ask for the fan interviews if people would dress head to toe in Falcons gear. If it didn't guarantee a win, but if it meant they had a better chance to win, it was like split. Half said yes, half said no. You could also check out that video. It's a fan interview that I did last year in Tampa Bay. Whatever. Honestly, the Atlanta Falcons' biggest offseason move probably wasn't from a player. Matt Ryan now returns to the Atlanta Falcons, but he is the president of operations. He's the president of football for the Falcons now. Ryan spent 14 years in Atlanta. He won an MVP there. He led the Falcons to a Super Bowl appearance the year after the Panthers made it, but we didn't 28-3 it. I know we lost, but we didn't 28-3 it. And he owns nearly every major passing record in franchise history for the Falcons. So with that being said, is Matt Ryan the greatest Falcon ever? Tell me, Falcon fans. Now, with them hiring Matt Ryan and getting a new GM, at the end of the year, Atlanta felt it was best if they let go of Raheem Morris and go with a new coach. So they went and hired former Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski does have a couple of Coach of the Year titles to his name, but most recently he's had pretty poor seasons with the Browns. So this is a good way for him to kind of bounce back, rebound, and show what he has. I truly believe whatever he does in Atlanta will decide whether he is a good coach or not, because there's still question marks about him. If he is that good of a coach, how come he's only made it to the playoffs with the Browns only one time? Things of that nature. With Kevin Stefanski, he goes ahead and brings over his offensive coordinator from the Browns too, Tommy Rees. And Tommy Rees will be handling play calling duties. Jeff Ulbrich, I believe, was the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, and he stays on board. Panther fans, are you more worried now facing Kevin Stefanski than you were Raheem Morris? My answer is unfortunately going to be yes. I think Kevin Stefanski is a better coach, and I think he'll get more out of the players than Raheem Morris did. Let's go ahead and talk about some of Atlanta's offseason acquisitions. They went out and signed QB Tua Tagovailoa because they're not sure how well Michael Penix will recover from his ACL injury. They went out and got wide receiver Jahan Dotson. That's interesting. They got tight end Austin Hooper, who used to play for Atlanta already, so he'll be familiar there. Offensive tackle Juwan Taylor, safety Sidney Brown, and kicker Nick Folk as some of the more major additions. Which addition do you guys think helps Atlanta the most? Some of their major losses included QB Kirk Cousins, who between him and Tua, I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. The only thing that Tua brings to the table that is very similar to Atlanta is the fact that he's a left-handed quarterback, just like Penix is. So they have both the left-handed quarterbacks in the league, interestingly enough. They also lost running back Tyler Algier, thank God, because he's a very good running back, but I feel bad for him because the Falcons drafted Bijan, and that took away his touches. And then this offseason, Tyler signed with the Cardinals. But in the draft this year, they drafted Jeremiah Love, who was the top running back in the draft, just like Bijan was when he was coming out. So now Tyler probably won't play nearly as much as he was supposed to when he signed there. They lost wide receiver Darnell Mooney. Now, if we're talking about Darnell Mooney compared to Jahan Dotson, I'd much rather have Mooney. So I think they downgraded there. They lost their edge rusher Arnold Ebiketie. You could tell me how to say that. I don't know how to say it. Defensive lineman David Onyemata. He was good, so glad he won't be there anymore. And their offensive tackle Caleb McGarry retired this offseason. So guys, which departure do you guys think hurt Atlanta the most? Let's talk about the 2026 Atlanta Falcons draft class. Now remember, the Falcons didn't have a first-round pick because they traded it to the Rams last year. So they had to wait till the second round before they could pick. In round 2, they chose cornerback Avion Terrell. If that name sounds familiar, well, it's because he's the younger brother of top cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons, AJ Terrell. So that's pretty cool that the brothers will be playing on the same team. If you see Terrell on both sides of the field, just know, yes, they are related. Actually, very closely related. They are brothers. In round 3, they drafted wide receiver Zachariah Branch from Georgia. Apparently, he's going to be good. So a name to watch out for on their offense. Round 4, they drafted linebacker Kendall Daniels. Round 6, they drafted defensive tackle Antonio Thompson. Also in round 6, they drafted linebacker Harold Perkins Jr. In round 7, they drafted offensive tackle Ethan Onyenawa. Just giving me all these names that are hard to say. Thanks, Falcons. Falcon fans, which rookie are you most excited to see? And which rookie will have the biggest impact for your team? Key Falcon players that Panther fans should know about. QB Michael Penix Jr., running back Bijan Robinson, wide receiver Drake London, tight end Kyle Pitts, offensive lineman Chris Lindstrom, cornerback AJ Terrell, safety Jesse Bates III, edge rusher James Pierce Jr., and linebacker Jalen Walker. Panther fans, which Falcon player worries you guys the most? Why Atlanta is dangerous. Atlanta has one of the most talented rosters in the NFC South. Bijan Robinson is a star. Drake London is a star. Jesse Bates is a star. Chris Lindstrom may be the best guard in all of football. It really just depends on if Michael Penix Jr. develops into a franchise quarterback. Then Atlanta could be extremely dangerous. But with that being said, I don't know how much they believe in Penix just because they brought in Tua. Is Tua there just to back him up? Or is he there to compete for a starting spot? I think it's the latter. I think it's going to be an open competition. And whoever wins that open competition, because Penix should be back for training camp, I think that's who they'll roll the dice on. But really, we'll see. Because once again, guys, whenever an organization brings like overhauls everything and brings in a new GM, everything, they always want to shape the team the way they envision it. So if they don't envision it with Michael Penix right this year, and they only signed Tua for a 1 year deal, they really might not be going all in this year, thinking they're not going to have that good of a season. And then this next draft class should feature a lot of QBs. So honestly, they might just be kind of seeing how this year goes and then looking to draft a new quarterback this next offseason. But I'm not so sure. We'll just see. Do you agree that Atlanta has one of the best rosters in the NFC South? Let me know. Let's go to the predicted starters. Let's go to the board, the big board. So just like last week, let's go ahead and bring it to the big board and kind of compare the players. And look, when talking about QBs, there's not a lot of teams you're going to put Bryce Young over them. I will. I'm a big time homer and I will whatever. But this is one of the matchups you definitely have to give Bryce Young the advantage. Once again, just how he plays against them. But QB slot, I have Penix and Tua. I don't know who's going to start. Once again, it's just going to be an open competition. So we'll see. When it comes to the running backs, the Atlanta Falcons clears us easily. Chuba Hubbard's a fine running back, but Bijan Robinson is on a completely different level. When it comes to wide receivers, wide receiver ones, here's where I think we have it even. You might give the slight edge to London just because he has a little bit more experience. But T-Mac gained like 7 to 8 pounds this year. He looks big and he's poised to go out and have a big year this year. If we're talking number 2 wide receivers, we clearly clear that. Jalen Coker is better than Jahan Dotson. I'm surprised he's even on Atlanta. I didn't know where he went. If anything, though, this will be a good place for him to maybe revitalize his career. He had a pretty good first year and then just fell off a cliff. Washington traded him to the Eagles, and then he played for the Eagles for a couple years, and he didn't get more than 300 yards each of those years. So we'll see what he brings to the table, if anything. They also re-signed Olamide Zakaria or whatever his name is, so he might be in that spot instead. The third wide receiver, Zachariah Branch versus XL. Just like the Bears, Zachariah Branch is a rookie. We don't know what he has to offer. XL, from what we've seen of him in his years in the league, doesn't look that great. Even though I think he will have a better year. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy, but I see like 30 to 50 catches, 500 yards, a couple touchdowns. I think he'll have a better year to where it'll at least justify, maybe him continuing to be our number 3 receiver. Tight ends, Kyle Pitts clears Tommy Tremble, even though Pitts has not had the beginning of his career that a lot of people expected him to. This last year, he had a good year, and I think he will just continue to trend upwards. When it comes to line, once again, I won't say all the names. I think we have a slightly better line, but their line really isn't bad. Jake Matthews is good. Matthew Bergeron's good. Chris Lindstrom, like I said, is good. So they got some good players there. We'll just see what ends up happening in the 2 games that we play this year. When it goes to the defense, I told you guys who I thought was good on the Panthers in the Bears video, but we're going to say it every time. So for fact, I know Derek Brown is good. Jalen Phillips good. Nick Scorin's good. Devin Lloyd is good. J.C. Horn is good. Mike Jackson's good. And Trayvon Merrick's good. For the Falcons, I don't know who Zach Harrison is. I don't know who Mason Smith is. I don't know who Brandon Dorlus is. I just don't. And let's be real. One of Atlanta's biggest weaknesses up until last year has always been pressuring the quarterbacks. But last year they double dipped just like the Panthers did. And they got edge James Pierce Jr. He's good. He had 10.5 sacks last year. Jalen Walker will continue to improve. Inside linebacker, Divine Diablo. Don't know who that is. Inside linebacker, Kendall Daniels. I think that's, yeah. Kendall Daniels is their 4th round pick. So, hey, might not be a bad thing if he starts. Then for their cornerbacks, they got the brothers AJ Terrell and Avion Terrell. Safety Jesse Bates and safety Xavier Watts. So, Bates is good. Terrell is good. Pierce is real good. Walker, we'll give him the good. But just look, and I believe Watts is good. I really don't know much about him, but I think they say he's good. So if we're looking at that, our defense is better than the Falcons. But once again, that's just all opinion. That's just my opinion. From looking at this, who do you guys think has the better roster? Now, before we talk about my predictions, because I've talked about James Pierce a little bit, I have to read about some of his legal trouble because I do not know if he will play all year. So get this. Once again, James Pierce is a good player, but he did have character concerns coming out of college. So, the incident, February 7th, 2026. Pierce was arrested in Doral, Florida after a domestic dispute involving his former girlfriend, WNBA player Rakia Jackson. Police stated that Pierce repeatedly rammed his vehicle into Jackson's car as she attempted to drive to the police station. He then fled from police, struck an officer's knee with his car, and resisted arrest on foot. Like, I get it, NFL, that, you know, if someone's talented, we should just overlook how horrible of a person they are. This is crazy. This is crazy. Like, how is he not even in jail? So there was a legal resolution in May. Pierce's legal team, in consultation with the victim and prosecutors, agreed to a 1-year diversion program to avoid a criminal trial. Additionally, Jackson dropped her request for a permanent restraining order against him. Lucky you, Pierce. And then his NFL status. While he avoided jail time, once again, don't know how, Pierce still faces potential disciplinary action and a possible suspension from the NFL under the personal conduct policy, regardless of his diversion status. He definitely should get suspended. But that's neither here or there. My prediction for the Falcons, on paper, they still have a good roster, but their question mark at QB is a legitimate concern for them. Because I don't think Tua's the answer. I don't know if Penix is the answer. It really just depends on how he recovers from his ACL injury. No matter who's playing QB for the Falcons, though, I think as long as Bryce Young plays in both games against the Falcons, we have a very good chance to win those games. So I am giving my prediction for another sweep this year and for us to continue to crawl back on that all-time record. Panther fans, do you think we sweep, split, or get swept by the Falcons? Falcons, you could answer that question too. Falcon fans, is Michael Penix Jr. your franchise QB or no? I'd love to know what you guys think about that. And then who do you guys think finishes with a better record in the NFC South this year? The Panthers or the Falcons? Leave your comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts. If I missed anything, let me know. But that's it for this week's episode, breaking down the Atlanta Falcons. Falcon fans, if I missed anything, please let me know. Thank you everyone who tuned in. Can't wait to see you guys next Sunday when we break down the Week 3 matchup against the Cleveland Browns. As always, keep pounding.